I mean, there's things about my life that only the CIA and the FBI know. My wife and I brought the My Lai massacre films back, which is 80% responsible for ending the war. That day, we knew we wouldn't make it back, but it was worth the shot. I got in touch with Ho Chi Minh through a friend of mine in Paris. He said, I'm outraged of what black folks is doing for this white racist government. And as of this moment, I'm willing to take my wife and family and move to Hanoi and let my brothers drop bombs on us too. Ho Chi Minh sent me a very touching, humane thank you cable back. And then he said, what kind of animals do you think we are that would permit someone this kind to do what you wanted to do? I say this for a reason. I say this to say that I got in a position to meet King, not because I was just some ordinary guy in the street. I got in this position because I was a celebrity. And I got to be a celebrity. This gentleman sitting right here, Irwin Corey. Now let me just explain this to you. Let me explain what happened. When I came through, no black had ever worked the white nightclub. Now you hear all this old crap y'all be talking here in New York. The Cotton Club was in Harlem, but black folk couldn't come there. Okay? This brother was at the Playboy Club. They worked 7 days a week. He refused to work 7 days. And I got the call to work that one day. On my way there, I had a quarter in my pocket. I got off the bus at the wrong stop. They told me I would make $50 that night. I didn't know enough about show business to know that the 50 didn't come to me. It went to the agent, and I got it later. All I needed was a quarter, and I added up what 50 times 7 is that I would, and I couldn't believe there's that much money in the world. And I got there. I got lost. It was a blizzard. And I was running through the snow to be there on time. And I was asking people, which way is the Playboy Club? Which way is the Playboy Club? I hadn't been downtown. I worked in a black nightclub. And Hugh Hefner, when Sammy Davis and Count Basie and Sarah Vaughan and Joe Williams came to this black nightclub, all the white folks that had power came out to the black nightclub. And I was told when they came in, they wouldn't be using me because they was bringing Nipsey Russell. I didn't know nothing about Nipsey Russell, never heard of Nipsey Russell. I just said, this is my turf. I work this club, and I didn't say it with disrespect. I said, but if Nipsey Russell is going to take my job, then you hire him and keep him here all the time. The reason I'm telling you that, that's what courage will do, not nastiness. I didn't have no other job. And so the guy said, okay, but just promise me one thing. You cannot tell no joke. You just introduce. I said, okay. And there is a respect you have to give. And I gave them that. But in between taking one act off and bringing the other act on, I put my whole genius together in those few seconds, and Hugh Hefner heard it. Hugh Hefner heard it. And when this brother decided he wasn't going to work 7 days, I got the call. I got the call because I stood up on my turf for what was mine. Not with nastiness, and not with fear that if I walked how I was going to eat. And he stood up and said, I'm not working 7 days. And they sent for me. I got lost. Running to get there on time. Biggest job I ever had in my life. One day. Filling in for somebody. I got there and Victor Lowndes was in the middle of the steps. He said, that's okay, stop. You don't have to go on, you don't have to go on. Mr. Hefner just realized he rented this room out to a Southern frozen food convention. And we tried to get in touch with you. We hate we waste your time. You get paid for the night. And I pushed him out the way. I moved him out the way and walked into that room and started talking. And 4 hours later, Hefner got out of bed. I was still talking. And they was listening and laughing. And that's what went into making the Dick Gregory that you know, this brother here. I can trace it back there. And because of that, I became the first black in the history of America to stand flat-footed and talk to white folks, because up until then, this racist system never permitted a man, black, or a woman, black, to stand flat-footed and talk to America. When I went on the Jack Paw show, I was the first black on the Jack Paw show that was permitted to sit down on the couch. Not because they wanted to, because I refused to go. And I knew going on the Jack Paw show, my salary would go from $50 a night to $5,000 a night. I said, I can't sit on the couch, I don't want to go. And I'm telling you this, not for me, I got mine. For those of you out there with all of the hurting and all that, it's not worth it. Fold up your tent. Some kind of way you have to stand in this zoo and let them animals know we're going to put you back in the cage. We didn't come to kill you. You're an animal. I'm a human. I have the power to put you back in the cage once I have the courage not to be afraid of an animal. That's what this is about. And this is what Mark Lane's been doing, is staying animals, putting them back in the cage. One by one, by one, by one, by one. And so the last time I was in New York at one of these type of meetings, I met your son, and I just hugged him, and I just wanted to say thanks. And you know, you move so fast, I never slowed up to get it there. He's not going to get away from me this time. You know what it's like? Since then, I've had 10 children. I mean, you know what it's like to have 10 children that don't drink soda pop, never had whiskey. I mean, I was able to have a lifestyle. Never had to have television in the house because the type of money I was making, because he refused to one or another, I could send them anywhere in the world they wanted to go. You don't have to see it on TV. Check it out for yourself. So that violence was never brought in my house. Those commercials was never brought in my house. I didn't mean to have 10 children. It didn't just happen. I mean, now I'm making big bucks. I'm hanging out with white folks. I'm reading white papers. And they do write a little different than they am today. The white folks got little codes. You know that. They say, you know, oral sex. Now, that's a code. So in the ghetto, my cousin don't know what oral sex is. We got cousins named Earl, and we pronounce O. The New York Times, I was reading one time, said the typical American family, they were talking about white folks, is 2.5 children per family. And I didn't know that was a code word. Me and my old lady kept trying to have the half of it. We said, we make as much money as they do. We can afford the half. And whole ones kept coming out. And we had 10 children before it dawned on that was a code word. And then when I look at that oldest son, sometimes I think maybe we got that half. You know what it's like to send your oldest son, you know, that's the one you kind of, you know, put your thing in and you know, that's it, look like you, act like you, you know, a little strange, but you say he'll grow out of it. You know, they keep saying that, you know. 27 years old, they still saying he'll grow out of it, you know. So they go to college, and I kind of, you know, at 5 girls older than him, and you know, the whole sexist thing, you know, it's cool, the girls is bright now, but this boy here, you know, when he make it, you know what I'm saying? And I go there, and I say, well, you made it to college, man. How you feel? Okay. How you like college? Okay. How about your teachers in your class? Okay. How about college life? Okay. Man, what you majoring in? Communications? So, to you, my brother, thank you. And let me tell you, I have worn it well. that one day you gave up has really made a difference in my life, and I thank you very much.
I was just thinking the probably the half you got as a kid would probably be part that would eat.
Yes, yes. And I think I'd rather have that half. Speaking of that, you know, the street I had named after me in St. Louis, that was a line I used when I said, I got a street, Dick Gregory Place, is the only thing have my name that don't eat. Please. Let me run along so we can get into some questions. When you look at what you heard here, you can apply it to everything, not just to celebrities, people in power. Freddie Prinze came to me, stunned one day of all of this information, and he wanted to be part of the assassination information. So you better leave it alone. 65 million people looking at you every week. The government's not going to take kind to that. And 3 weeks later, he was dead. Called it suicide. They didn't tell you there was a bullet in the wall, and when we questioned the bullet in the wall, they said he fired a practice shot.
Practice. Yes.
John Belushi got hooked on the assassination. And I talked with him. I said, you better leave it alone. A month later, he was dead. So it didn't just stop. We don't know how many murders. When Mark so brilliantly not only wrote the book, the legislation, got the select committee together, HCI agents whose job it was to kill me. And my life is just simple. Bodyguard, I got one. It's that universal God power, and I don't deal in isms and osms. And if I thought for 1 minute the God I pray to every day can't protect me from filth, then I'd be the first one to say I'm praying to the wrong thing. No bodyguard. But you sit around and you look, and when I looked at these agents that were supposed to get me, and when the select committee subpoenaed 6 of those 8 agents to testify, not because they thought they had something to do with the Kennedy King assassination, because they had investigated one or the other. All 6 of them ended up dead, so they got there. When Mark Lane and I got involved with the murders in Atlanta, and we went down to the Center for Disease Control. And if y'all naive enough to sit in here and have this filthy government tell you that you can beat AIDS by wearing a condom, and stupid enough not to believe they're going to put it in that, then something's wrong with you. Okay? Then you are not special at all. If you don't know that they passing out needles because they putting it in the needle. I ain't never done drugs in my life, but if I was a drug addict, I would be the first one to cut a commercial and say, don't give me free needle, give me free dope, I'll buy the needle. I mean, what is this here? Hundreds of years, people have been out shooting up, and all at once they just start using dirty needles? And the same as we talking about this, one day we're going to get honest enough to say AIDS was created by them same dogs. And I used to tell my gay friends, don't come out the closet until you check and see what Hitler and them Nazis did to homosexuals, because the same rule runs here. And that's what this game is about. We got movements being led here, and people so hung up in movements, you don't even know who's leading them. We see what's happening in Waco. Same thing, same deal. The government gives the press what they want them to have. And the press is stupid enough and controlled enough by them to run it. And then talk about free press. Explain Waco to me. I know I don't know that much about intelligence and all that stuff, but I got enough sense to know that we got enough of us sitting here and on the front row that if we was in jail, captured by some enemy, that we can dig a tunnel 5 or 6 miles and get out that jail. You tell me the United States government don't know how to dig a tunnel under that house and drop some gas in there and put them all to sleep? Or is it supposed to be about murder? Is that a government experiment down there that they're ready to wash their hands with? Wait, no, hold it. Because had they killed everybody in there and dropped some SWAT stickers, Jews would have been happy. They know how to play with your emotion. They know what they is. And all they had to do was show us a picture of Martin Luther King and say they was using that as dartboards, and we would be happy. That's how they do it. And then tell us they got poison gas. And now they've already told us he got 15 or 20 wives. Who told us that? The newspaper. We don't know. He said, well, how did he get his money? All those members sold their homes and everything, and they run it just like they do. What they don't tell you is the folks that they interviewed in Waco say they buy their food with food stamps. Okay? And now they've already primed us for the murder. They said, we think they're getting ready for suicide. And I know damn good and well when I started reading that they was playing that loud music, that's probably to keep them from hearing whatever they're doing underneath the ground to move into that house. And Americans, are you really stupid enough to believe that 4 government agents, the whole world is watching that operation there, and just some ordinary people twice this week have got past their security and walked in the compound? And so what you just heard here, you can apply it to all of it. The World Trade Building? I mean, here's some folks ain't even citizens, just got a fresh green card and can rent a car with no credit card? Try it. Over in Newark, which is the car theft capital of the world. And if you ever rented a car, if you want the whole no deductible, if anything happens, you don't pay nothing. It costs more for the insurance per day than to rent a car. And so when they put $400 up, you know they had the worst insurance they could find, which means if that car was stolen, they didn't have no $400 coming back. So why are they telling us that they would? Why are they telling us they reported the car stolen on Friday, the day that the bomb went off? But they didn't go until 5 days later to file the report. Anytime you have a rented car and report it stolen, you have to immediately go in. And yet they run that down, the press runs it down, and it's that same thing. And the reason they can get by, and the reason we're here 25 years later, is the American press. The whole game that they play. And if you dare, I mean, we can sit here and say and declare ourselves artists, and we'll do a picture of Jesus Christ with a vagina. And even the Christians that'll get mad at the bottom, they'll say artistic freedom. But when Oliver Stone give us a movie about the assassination, artistic freedom went out the window. They attacked him like he was some new type of cancer. And that's what those out here on the front line have had to go through. And so I say to you that we don't have much time. We don't have much time at all. You look in the black community, black folks, and that string of violence that's running through there, we've always had crime in the black community. Oppressed people, that's one of the outlets you have. But this form of violence is unheard of. Are they putting something in the water? Are they putting something in the food? These juvenile gangs that they tell us about, he just finished telling you that little gang who we thought was a gang was government agents. Brother Glenn, who was Malcolm's trusted bodyguard that was leaning over and giving him mouth to mouth. It's an agent. When Muhammad Ali, there's only one thing in the whole universe bigger than him at one time, that was God. And they gave us a movie called Rocky, a little chubby white boy that wiped Ali out. One Rocky movie made more money than all of Ali fights. And if you go around the world and put Rocky and Ali and ask people in the world who's the champ, they'll say Rocky. If you go to Philadelphia tonight, the number one attraction in Philadelphia is not the Liberty Bells, the statue of Rocky, but there's no statue of Ali nowhere in the world. That's how they do it. That's how they do it. They take a movie and wipe Malcolm out. If you don't believe it, walk down the street now and see how many X's you see. Walk down. They understand what they're doing, and when they come and give you the money, you can be a pawn and don't even know it. But you have to ask yourself a question. When the Ku Klux Klan put up the money to do Martin Luther King's life story, we should all suspect that. When the same white establishment that wouldn't give Malcolm X the time of the day puts the money up to do Malcolm, and thank God the reason that movie was a financial success, and maybe they won't try it no more, because them young gangbangers in the ghetto, 25 and down, didn't go see the movie. They just had a funny feeling. You went to see it with your hip self and didn't feel nothing with Malcolm's head in a toilet. And all that movie was about was give Malcolm a life of crime to liking white folks. That's what it was about. But that's what they do. I don't know what's in black men's bodies that's so valuable. I think I know, but I don't want to get into that. It's worth $22 billion a pint. So when they give us a movie called Silence of the Lamb, and then 8 months later give us Jeffrey Dahmer, it's connected, baby. It's connected. And you have to have the God consciousness to sit and say, here's this little frail, sissy-looking white boy that moves into a hardcore ghetto in Milwaukee. I mean, live in a hardcore ghetto, black folks unemployed, where redneck 1960 redneck Mississippi cracker sheriff wouldn't live. And he just there and eat them niggas at will. I mean, these construction types, they wake up in the morning mad. And this little frail, sissy white boy just eats them at will, and y'all don't see through that. And then 2 weeks after he's arrested, they give us another movie called Body Parts. It's no accident. And you white folks in America that's stupid enough to think you white, they put 5 white folks on this whole planet. The rest of y'all's imposters. Baby, white ain't got nothing to do with a color. White is an attitude. If you ain't got some big, big billions of bucks, you can't have the attitude. They did the same thing to the Kennedys that they did to Malcolm. You think your white means something if you're not one of the old clicky-lickies? That's the game. And so I say to you tonight, as we open up for questions and answers, we've been able to get documents now. And when you read the book, read the story that he told you about Grace Stevens, but add just a little more to it, especially black folks. See this old snaggle-tooth, hillbilly, uneducated, dirt poor white woman, living in an old flop house with old ignorant redneck honky white boy that whooped her so bad that when we checked the records, in 21 years she'd been in the hospital in the air 17 times, 19 times from broken bones or fracture. I mean, established the atmosphere this old poor hillbilly white woman lived in, and yet had the integrity to do some things that I know some black folks that I know personally wouldn't do. Say to the mightiest, filthiest government in the world, that's not him. They say, well, what about the money? Some of us sitting in this room now for $100,000 tonight. It's some brothers selling dope to our children now for chump change. Here's a hillbilly, ignorant white woman that rose up to meet the occasion. And I teach my little black brothers and sisters and daughters and grandchildren, when you're balling up your fist, think of Grace, what real power is about. Woman ain't never had a baby in her life, but exemplify what the real God force means when they talk about motherhood. Motherhood. 10 years in the mental hospital, and when he walked in, she thought he was the bad guy. And she said to him, I tell you now what I told you then, that's not the man. So when y'all be playing your little games and got to get into your drugs to meet the next day, think of Grace. And as long as there's great Stevensons on this planet, King's dream will be realized. Malcolm's energy will be there. Long as we get dudes that's willing to lay on a railroad track. One white man laying on the railroad track, watching another white man drive the train at 5 miles an hour and know he's going to stop, and when he rolls past him, both his legs is gone. 10 days later, he's right back there with 2 artificial limbs on, with a smile on his face and love in his heart. That's what's going to change the planet. Not evilness, not nastiness, not you did it to me, now it's my turn to do it to you. And so I just thank God that I was in a position that when the civil rights movement hit and King was out there, I got to meet him. I didn't understand what he was talking about because John Wayne was my boss. John Wayne said, if you got your guns together and the chump wrong you, if they wrong, kill them. He said nothing about turn no other cheek. But because of this brother moving over one day and I moved in, I got to bump into this integrity, and it took me a while to understand what that love was about, but I know it now. I know if this brother here is a drug addict and this brother here is a dope pusher, I know the same God that put him here. And as a father of 10 black children, I dare you to like 9 of my children and resent the 9th or 10th one. As a father, you bother me. And so that's what Martin was talking about. And we didn't lose it, because you can see it happening all over. If you don't believe it, look at the state of Arizona. Last year, for the first time, they celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday. But what was important about it, in the state of Arizona, there's 3.6 million people in that state, and African Americans is less than 3%, so it wasn't us that turned it around. And any of you all in America, black folks, non-white folks that don't know some decent white folks, that's your fault. Just like there's a whole lot of white folks that ain't never met nothing but some ignorant, wild, gun-shooting, drinking black folks. That's their fault. They don't know what a black doctor, a black lawyer, a black school teacher look like. That's not my fault, that's their fault. And if you in your life don't know some good white folks, you have not been blessed. You are in such a bind that all you qualify to see is some old ignorant, hateful, nigger-hating white folks. And what a hell of a curse to be put on you to walk through this planet and get as old as you are now and have not met some decent white folks that would lay their life down for what is right. When I sit and look at this brother, he called me about getting some black folks out in the middle of my dinner. Nigga been in jail 20 years. Let him stay there 15 minutes, man. And then he moved. He moved down there. I go in every now and then. I ain't giving up this. Come on, man. Please. Yeah. Let me run something past you and we get out of here. You have made a difference, because let me tell you, the 25, 30 years we've been out here, if it wasn't for you, what we're doing wouldn't count. We're not doing this research for ourselves. I don't need to do no research. I know what this government's doing. But it's you. You've been there. In between all of that negative calls you hear on telephone, calls on TV, challenging stuff, you've been there. When we walk through the street in the middle of the morning, middle of the night, you reach out and say thanks. You heard it. Yeah, I heard you on such and such a show. Fantastic. And that's what made the difference. And it hit. We just left Washington, D.C., and this article we're talking about, we were able to get it reprinted in a black paper that's a giveaway paper in Washington, D.C., and we decided that we would sell it for a quarter just so the brother would make the money back. Sold 40,000 in 2 days. They was coming in and dropping. You never seen nothing like it in your life. Information.
You're going to run it in Amsterdam.
Information. They're going to run it in Amsterdam. Information. And they was coming in getting it by the packs. By the packs. We were at a black radio station yesterday morning. We took 200 books in, and what we had left we was going to bring here. We went on at 6 o'clock. At 5 minutes to 7, they was all gone. It's a new day. You can't sell dope that early in the morning. And let me tell you something. The government, no, they shouldn't be scared of us. The government should be scared of you sitting in this hot room this long on a weekend listening to something that's not a party. Do you hear what I'm saying? And y'all not here because you're homeless. All y'all had something to do tonight. Think about that now. And this is that light, this is that ray. And that's what's so beautiful when you go downstairs and see them books down there, because you have loved ones that you, remember, you cannot alienate me and educate me at the same time. You can't take this information home and just because they over there in the darkness and alienate it, you got to get the stuff, you got to get the facts, you have to have it. I proved this with food. There ain't nothing you can have wrong with your body that can't be wiped out, including drug addiction in 18 hours. Cancer, sugar diabetes, high blood pressure. But knowing this, I still have to have compassion, and I'm working with some folks now. I don't even tell them to stop smoking until I move them to the next thing. When you get this information, if you don't have love with it, it won't do you no good. This is what this brother, this is what the whole thing is. Not do he have the information, love. And he didn't go crazy just on the assassination. He can reach over and get other folks in jail. He can reach over and get women that's having problems. He got lawsuits all over this country. And he's able to keep his genius because he haven't let this system wear him down. He's wore it down. And if you don't understand that, take a quarter and just sit out on the curve and just rub it against that concrete and see what's going to happen to the quarter. You wear it down. And that's what he's able to do. And so as I leave you tonight, let me just run a few fast things past you, and then we'll open it up for some quick questions. This is what FBI files look like. May the 15th, 1968, from the director of FBI, Edgar Hoover, even put his serial number. I lived in Chicago at the time, concerning a speech by Gregory on April the 28, 1968, where he noted that syndicate hoods are living all over. I thought the FBI knew that. They are the filthy snakes that exist on this earth. That's how I feel about the mafia. Here's Hoover's second paragraph, because I call the mafia filthy snakes. Hoover writes this to the Chicago Bureau. Consider the use of this statement in developing counterintelligence operations to alert La Costa Nostra to Dick Gregory's attack on them. Think about that now. And when I got it, I loved it. I said, little nappy-head black born in a ghetto on welfare, didn't know where my daddy was, and carried myself in a way that the most powerful, secret, nasty organization in the world is trying to kill me. I must be doing something right. Must be doing something right. Lee Harvey Oswald killed by Jack Ruby. This is how he's wore the system down. This is what the government documents look like. House Un-American Activity released Exhibit 1 for Jack Ruby to testify, United States Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Washington, D.C. It is my sworn statement that 1, Jack Ruby, noted as a potential witness for the hearing of the House Un-American Activity, is performing an information function for the staff of Congressman Richard Milhouse, Nixon representative of California. It is requested that Ruby not be called in open testimony in this matter. Signed, sworn, this 24th day of November, 1947. 1947. Jack Ruby, who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, been dealing as a government agent since 1947. This is their documents. That's what this game is about. And finally, here's a telex that Hoover sent out. Telex said, urgent, 1:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, November the 17th, 1963. That was 5 days before JFK was shot in Dallas. Who did he send it to? It say to all SACH, FACS. What does that mean? Special agents in charge of the various offices of the FBI. From, next to that says the director, Edgar Hoover. What did the telex say 5 days before Kennedy was assassinated? What did Hoover send to all the special agents in charge of the various offices? Here's what it says. Threat to assassinate President Kennedy in Dallas, Texas, November the 22nd, 23rd, 1963, miscellaneous information. Okay? All right? That's what this game is about, baby. Came out, and they so arrogant and nasty. This is in the files. I mean, this is the type of degenerate craziness, ungodly creeps that we deal with. They don't even throw it away. And so I leave you tonight and I say to you, watch L.A. And don't be so thrilled over a ride when you don't know who's causing it. Don't be so happy about violence. Violence is bad, period. It's even worse when you don't know who's causing it. There's some strange things going on out there in L.A. Rodney King, who was beat up by them cops, what the press is not telling you, 6 weeks before they beat him, a white judge sentenced him to 8 years in jail. And 6 weeks later, he show up in the street. There might be an answer to it, but in a free democratic society, somebody should tell us how he got out 6 weeks later to receive the whooping. Rodney King arrested for soliciting a male prostitute, and the press don't touch it. Who protects him? Who took those pictures? How come this, the most famous pictures? I mean, I say to you all with these cameras, ever looking at those pictures, if y'all ever see cops or anybody else whooping me and you got a camera, drop that camera and come help me, man. Denny, a white truck driver, gets beat. We see it on TV. We see the words they use with that beating savagely, but they don't use that word with King. But listen to me now, and don't get emotional. The whole world watched Denny get beat. Videotape. And yet it took the LAPD 36 days to make a first arrest. Don't that bother you? Is there something going on out there we don't know about? And 4 months ago, they made the last arrest. They had him on camera. How come they wasn't brought in that hour? And you black folk got enough sense to know when white folk decide to close a town down, it closed. Y'all know about the Korean woman that shot the little black girl in the head? Listen to me now. No emotions. Those of y'all that saw the video tape of it, raise your hand. Okay, now, that's very important. Very important. Me and you, brother, we got a confectionery. Me and you. A white girl come in. I'm not getting into who's right or wrong. I walk up and shoot her dead in the back of the head. And it's on the video. Who owns that video? So are we stupid enough to give that to the police? When you get through laughing, think about it. Why were they stupid enough to give it to the police or somebody trying to promote something? And how in the hell do you live out here in New York get to see the videotape of something that happened out there when under no normal circumstances should that film been turned over? I'm going to turn over some film to a New York cop showing me shooting a white girl in the back of the head. Or somebody trying to promote something. The Bloods and the Crips signed that pact a week before the riots. Why are they telling us now it happened a week after? And then when enough people challenged it, why have none of the major newspapers, just the little underground papers, had the guts to print that a year before them riots, 500 provocateurs was moved in there by this government? How come we don't know that they building a subway in L.A. for the first time? And there's a problem with building a subway when you come through the black community. You have a problem buying my land, and I don't mean me because I'm black. If I have a white business in the black community, because we know something in business that a lot of folks don't know. That black folks is not loyal to the blackness here, they loyal to the location. So if they pay you for your cleaners and move you 15 blocks away, black folks ain't coming. So black and white folks who do business in a black community, they resist that move. And so out there, they have what they call a blue line on a map. And you go back and look at them films the night the ride started. For 4 hours, you never to this day have heard the press use the word Molotov cocktail. Not once have you heard them say one was thrown. In the first 3 hours, you never heard them talk about fires. And then all at once we looked around and the whole town's on fire. Well, what they haven't told you is 98% of them fires followed the path of the blue line. So they don't have to buy your business now. So what I'm trying to tell you is there's a lot of brothers and sisters that because of economic deprivation and the economic, we looking for instant gratification. They know that. And they'll promote it for you. And until I got our hand on a copy of the Memphis paper, up until then, the most devastating thing that I ever put my hand on was not these assassinations, was an article that ran in the New York Times, May the 10th, 1992. L.A. police differ sharply with prosecutor on arrest total. This riot that they told y'all about, what they didn't tell you is this, and how the New York Times can run it in 2 paragraphs, nobody do a follow-up, and not another newspaper touch it. Police officials said today they have arrested 18,213 people from Wednesday night, April the 29th, the day the riot began, through this morning. But prosecutors say they cannot account for as many as 10,000 of those people. We don't know where they are. Under the false pretense of a damn riot, they have ripped off 10,000 black men. I don't know what they're getting out your body, but they're getting something out. So y'all go on and play your games here. Y'all go on and let this government promote riots and have you believing that that's what they are, and under the false pretense of all of that craziness, 10,000 black folks is unaccountable for. And we'll find out 21 years later, like we find out now, that they never made it to the jail. The same thing happened to them that happened to our Jewish brothers and sisters in Nazi Germany. They never made it to the jail in the middle of the morning. They made it to the cattle cars. So when the loved ones would go to the jail and check for them, the jailer could honestly say, they've never been here. So what they got planned for the next couple of days out there? Well, I'm going out tomorrow so I can be there to find out what it is and try to stop it if I can. And so I say to the Mark Lanes and to all of the decent people who have died, and only God knows how many Mark Lanes is in mental hospitals now, where this system, I don't know how many Mark Lanes whose families have turned against them. And it was so nice to see Mark's family coming in here tonight. I just want to just hug them and say thanks, because it get mighty cold out here. And you can talk about this government if you want to, but when you got the most mighty, powerful nation that's ever been put together in the history of the planet, when that nation comes after you, you got to have something deep down in your spiritual power to survive it. And so forth until now, we have. And so again, I just say that I thank you. There's a lot of information downstairs. And when you buy these books, just don't take these books. You got to check these books the best you can, because don't think the government ain't going to start writing some good books now. They got to get this, they got to get ahead and turn this thing around. And if they released them files in the morning and told me who did it, that's when the research started, because I want to know why. I even suspicious of the Memphis paper. Why is this coming out now? Are they getting ready to break up the Army? I mean, don't hold nothing back from me for 30 years and all at once give it to me and expect me to accept it, even when it's saying what I knew all along. Why are we getting it? That's the sadness in being part of a sick, degenerate system like this. That's the sadness of ignorance. When ignorant men sit around, and I don't use this word negative, ignorant men sit around in the cave and didn't understand why them two sisters was bleeding once a month, and the only time we can bleed is when we injured. And out of that ignorance, we created all kinds of stuff. That's where the silver chalice, the blood of the Lamb, the blood of Jesus, we got a whole blood thing going, simply because we didn't understand nature. And it's in legitimate rituals in church, and that whole blood thing started because there's a woman that can bleed without being injured, and I can't. That's what ignorance will do when you don't have the integrity to leave it alone. And so again, as we open up for a question and answer period, we thank you. We thank those of you from the radio station and those of you from the press to come with us. Thank you. God bless you. Peace be with you.